ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, Seth. Yeah, man. Thanks for joining us on the program. I guess first of all, how are you? What have you been up to?
Yeah, I've been good. It was a pretty busy winter. Obviously, we had tons of swell, so I think everyone was pretty burnt out this winter. And I've had like last week's been kind of small, so I've been training a bit, golfing, and kind of keeping it mellow. I think we're gonna get another flurry of swells coming up next week, so it's gonna be good.
Mental, yeah. Late season, I guess, is the best time of year for locals. Everyone's kind of bailed, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like the season where it's kind of just locals, but honestly, sometimes that's when it's even harder to get waves because all the locals are kind of on it and they're all out there. So it's harder when those guys are out compared to when all the tour guys are out. You can kind of being local, you can kind of get away with paddling past them at pipe and kind of just taking position. But yeah, I think pipeline is always a challenge to get a wave. Um, but you just got to put your time out there, spend hours and hours, and you can luck into a really good wave.
Fully, yeah. It can't be easy getting waves off Ezra and Ty Van Dyke and some of these kind of big cats that roam the North Shore.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's
sorry, go on.
no, I was like, yeah, it's tough with a lot of older guys and these bulldogs, especially like guys like Cole Rothman or Eli, John, Nate. Those kind of guys they're pretty much every wave, so you kind of gotta pick and choose your waves and almost like you sit under those guys and luck into a wave that they miss or something. That's kind of like another way angle approach that you can surf pipe is sitting underneath those guys and hopefully they'll miss a bomb and you're right under them.
Right, fascinating. Yeah, talk us through some of your personal highlights from this most recent North Shore winter, like any particular waves that stand out or days or runs of swell.
Man, it's all kind of a blur. Every swell was kind of a blur. We just had tons of good days of pipe and backdoor, but I had one wave where I was pretty stoked on. I think I entered it into the wave of the winter. It was just kind of a perfect pipe wave. It was just like picture perfect the whole wave. Like it wasn't a big wave, but it was really round and hollow. And I was on a pretty big board. I was on a 6'8", which I normally don't ride out there just because it was like 30 feet. And I kind of came into the inside and kind of got lucky underneath those guys. Like I said, a few guys were out the back and it kind of swung wide and I was kind of just in the perfect spot for that one.
Wow, yeah, that's insane. So that was a third reef day at Pipe. I know the wave you're talking about.
It was just walking through and I just decided to take out a big board just to get somewhere.
Oh, it's breaking up a bit. Can you hear us all right?
Working out. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, man. Yeah, well, you're one of the top handful of guys at arguably, the best wave on the planet. I guess, yeah, what's the view look like from the top of the pecking order at Pipe? Or how close to the top of the pecking order are you?
I'm not at the tip top yet, I don't think, but I feel like I'm right there, and I feel like I kind of deserve that spot there to be getting the better waves of them all. But I don't know. There's still guys, that are older than me that I respect, and I'll give them the right of way. But if it's my turn, I'll probably take it and give it a shot. But it's all everywhere all friend days, and I feel it's not like back in the day where your toes and you just kind of just scared to surf pipe. Especially like a lot of the newcomers, like even like the Colapintos, they can go out there and still get their fair share. You just gotta spend your time out there and put out hours in the water.
Yeah. And how does it feel to be one of the best guys out there with the ability to go on pretty much any wave you want?
Yeah, it feels great, but there's still a lot of really good guys, and I don't know. It's a confidence booster just being from here and knowing, you know, being a local there. So that's easier. I can I don't have to sit on the guys that I normally would be sharing waves with somewhere else. I can kind of just paddle out to the peak and hanging out with the boys at the peak. So it's definitely from Hawaii and being a pro surfer and just cutting up and surfing this spot.
Yeah. And absolutely. And so take us right back to the beginning, man. Like your father, Tony, is a Hawaiian surfing legend. Talk to us about some of his surfing achievements and how they shaped you.
Um, yeah, well, he liked pipe, sunset, and Haleiwa. Those are his like three waves. He would always tell, and he'd always tell us when we were young, like you guys gotta surf Haleiwa and sunset, like surf Haleiwa and sunset. And when you're a young kid, like that's not the wave you really want to surf. You want to surf V-Line or Rockies. So he would always be he wouldn't push us too hard to like force us to go surf those waves, but he would really tell us like, those are the fundamentals about surfing and you gotta put your time out there. And now today I really love pipe, sunset, and Haleiwa, especially pipe, but sunset and Haleiwa in those waves the last few winters, just putting in my hours and kind of wish I surfed those waves more when I was young, like my dad told us, but it's all good.
And what kind of a character was he at home? Because, his sporting record is remarkable. State surf champ at 14, two-time state champion motocross rider. He was a Golden Gloves boxer. This was all before the age of 20. And then a finalist at the Duke at Sunset, got sixth in the Eddie, was a staple of surf mags and videos all through the 80s. Does he get around in a cape at home? I mean, he's pretty much a Hawaiian superhero.
Nah, my dad was pretty humble about all that stuff, and honestly, just growing up, I never really realized like who he was. He's kind of just his dad, and not till I was older, you kind of realize that was gnarly. Dad was winning all these comps. Like at 20, I would say I would compare myself, and I'd be like, shit, I'm pretty far behind him. Like at my age, like from what he did at 20 years old. So that was kind of like almost like a goal of mine to kind of just accomplish this stuff he's done, like be in a final at Pipe or win Vulcan Pipe Pro. He's won that. My brother won it. I never won it. I made one final, and so still one thing I kind of want to really get. And I mean, I have a chance to win a Pipe Masters since I'm on tour, so that's the big goal, I think.
Yup. And what were the big life lessons, discipline, work ethic that you learned from you?
Um, it's probably just always like respecting the elders, especially like when we traveled and when we were traveling alone. He'd always just say like, "Hey, I have friends all over the world, so you guys got to be good, and you guys got to be on your best behavior wherever we're going." And that kind of just helped me out. Like when I was young, traveling by myself, just going to other places, and my dad would have a mostly good rep all the places we've gone to when we were young. So but always meet new friends and people that could like take us around and kind of show us like whether we're in Portugal or Brazil or France. So it's kind of like this respect he built for us was pretty awesome. And now that I get to see it like firsthand traveling, I really respect that he's put a super image and kind of set us up.
Yeah, for sure, man. What a great legacy. And your mum, Tammy, man, talk to us about her. Like, she surfed. I believe that's how they met. And what kind of a person is your mother, and what were the biggest lessons that you learned from her?
Um, yeah, my mom actually worked at a surf shop. It was a local motion surf shop, like the first one they've had. And my dad came through the store one day, and my mom knew who he was, and I think they just hit it off from there. But my mom's been probably my mom was a very strict lady when we were growing up. She homed all five of us, and she was kind of just like the foundation of us. My dad would always just let us go have fun, do whatever. He kind of he kept us in line, but he let us run free. My mom was kind of the queen house. She made sure we're in check, and we're always in good behavior when we're around mom.
Yeah, healthy respect for women, always good, mate.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated too. Like Hawaii was known for its heavy characters and a big drug scene back in the day, which you'd have to say probably exacerbated the heaviness of a lot of people over there. But you're not from that kind of family. Like, were you aware of the pitfalls of drugs and violence growing up? And how did your dad keep you guys away from that?
Um, yeah, I mean, I was always aware of what was going on in Hawaii and all the history of Hawaiian surfing. But I think my dad just he got away from it at a young age. He grew up in the middle of it, and luckily, I would say my mom was like his savior in a way. She grew up in a nice family with I lose track. Can you start over? I
Yeah.
missed that first.
Oh no, that's okay. Yeah, it's the internet connection's a bit dodgy. I guess like when your dad was coming up, like you said, like Hawaii was a gnarly joint, man. Like, there was um big localism scene, also like a big drug scene. And I guess like but your dad and your family, they seem very different to that kind of typical, heavy Hawaiian stereotype. Like you guys are well received wherever you go. Your father is universally respected. Yeah, I'm just kind of fascinated to know, um, how your dad kept you guys away from that, falling into that kind of rut of drugs and violence that was pretty rife at various periods throughout the North Shore's history.
Yeah, well, I would say my mom, like I said, my mom was like, I would say my dad's savior. She kind of, came into his life, and my dad, set my dad onto the right path. I was in a Christian household, so we were going to church on Sundays, and
Mm.
I just grew up I would say in a nice community too, like where I grew up. I wasn't born and raised in the North Shore. I was born and raised in town, and I kind of just was surrounded by different crew. I would say the crew I grew up with wasn't all necessarily surfers, so I wasn't always hanging out with surfers when I was really young. So I guess surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yeah, it's something that Australians and foreigners aren't necessarily aware of. I guess it's the difference between town and the North Shore. Like it's a very different culture, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a different culture for sure. Townies, we're townies, and the North Shore guys. I shouldn't say that. I'll just I'll talk shit, but nah, we're on a different scene, and I think just having like super solid parents and keeping us on the right track. We actually all homeschooled,
Wow.
so I think that was another big deal. I never went to a public school, and I know that's where a lot of kids would get in trouble and start doing drugs and creating bad habits. So
Mm, mm.
so my parents really got to like get a hold of our childhood, and like kind of like they made sure like what we were seeing and had a lot of control. Not a
Mm.
lot of control necessarily being very strict, but they would we were basically just going to the beach down to Waikiki every day, doing our schoolwork and then going surfing. And that was kind of our life.
Wow, man, that's an incredible upbringing, and they've done an incredible job. Like that, they've raised an incredible family, man. You guys are like probably, you're doing Hawaii very proud. I think. But I guess,
Yeah,
man. Sorry.
sorry.
Oh no,
But
it's
I
all
was
good.
just gonna say like um that was kind of like the one thing growing up. My dad, even at a young age, he'd be always telling us he would be telling us like you guys have to gotta have a good rep and a good reputation, and you guys have to um, make a good example for the younger kids. Even when I was like 13, he was always telling us like set a good example and like lead the way. So that was kind of the way we're growing up. So to till this day, I want to set a good example and make sure the kids in Hawaii know that like it's possible to make it out of Hawaii and become a professional surfer. Even if you don't have a professional dad like my dad, I was lucky enough. He kind of got to set me in a direction, and that was kind of his motto.
Yeah, man, I love that. That's fascinating, and of course, it's a great example to set. That you don't have to be a badass. You don't have to be into drugs and stuff. Like that's not necessarily cool or respected at all. You can be a humble, well-raised community man like yourself, like your family, and you're gonna get more respect in the long run.
Yeah, for sure. That was always his thing, like setting yourself in the long run. In the long run, so I know I think they did a pretty good job. Uh, I'm just lucky enough to have like two solid parents because I've seen a lot of kids, especially when I was young, having like parents in the comps, like little amateur comps, and parents getting pissed off for the kid losing in the second round, and like punishing them, and making them feel like shit. And that's kind of not what my dad and parents did. They kind of just, whether we lost or won, it was kind of like the same. Didn't really matter.
See, so classic, man. And who are some of the surf legends who'd regularly pass through your home back in the day, and what sort of an impression did that leave on you? Because I imagine your dad, like, your home would have just been packed full of Hawaiian surfing icons back in the day.
Yeah, I grew up having guys like Dane Kilo at my house and all kinds of legends like Ben Ipa. That was my dad's shaper. So I was kind of around guys like the heavy hitters back in the day. And at a young age, I didn't even realize it, but now I realize that I got to hang out with those guys at a young age. Having dinners, going surfing with them, and not actually realizing I was surfing with like the best surfers ever. So yeah, I was pretty fortunate growing up.
Yeah, and as you got older, did they have advice for you, or did they leave any kind of lasting impression on you? Did you feel like you had like a legacy to continue?
Uh, no, honestly, they never really left any pressure on me. It was just always like go out and have fun. That was kind of my dad's thing. Like, if you're not having fun surfing, then why are you doing it? So he never really pushed us or coached us when we were young too. Reynolds Hayes kind of came into our life at a young age, and my dad kind of just let Reynolds coach us, and my dad was our dad. He kind of liked it like that. So I would say he did it kind of right because I think I would have gotten kind of annoyed at him if he was trying to push us and coach me too much when I was young. And so I think he realized that, and he kind of just let Reynolds do everything. So I think that was like one of the big reasons why I'm like still loving surfing.
Yeah, man. Wow,
Yeah.
fascinating. And yeah, talk us through your progression from growing up in Waikiki, in town there, to being one of the best in the world at pipe and backdoor. I mean, the waves couldn't be more different.
Yeah. I mean, growing up, I was really scared of big waves. And growing up in Waikiki, you're surfing a spot people travel all over the world just to learn how to surf. So it's a really like a forgiving wave. There's not much to it. There's no power, and but eventually getting older, you'll progress to the spots like Omawana Bowls or Kiwala Basin, and that's kind of where we eventually ended up, and kind of surfing every day. We went from like 11 to 16, and those are like the spots where you kind of just learned all our fundamentals. And then I think pipe kind of came later for me. Actually, a funny story was my mom's brother. He's a professional Japanese surfer. My mom's 100% Japanese, and his name's Kirby Fukunaga. And one day he sat us all down, and it was me, all my brothers, and one of my friends. And he sat us all down, and he's like, boys, if you guys don't start surfing pipe, you guys aren't gonna make it. So he said, if you want to be a pro surfer, you gotta start surfing pipe. And the next well, me and all my brothers, we paddled out on like old brown like 6.6s, and that was kind of our first session out there. And I'll till this day, I still tell him like, thank you for saying that, because if it wasn't for you, I don't think I would have paddled out to pipe so soon.
Wow. Yeah, incredible, man. I mean, far out. It is the proving ground, as they say. I'm fascinated to know, yeah, what your earliest memories of pipe are, and even other big Hawaiian swells like. As a kid, surfing waves of that kind of consequence, they kill regularly. Yeah, what are your earliest memories of pipe that have just been seared into your brain, post-traumatic stress style?
Um, I was kind of, since I was the youngest brother, I would always follow my brothers, and whatever they did, like I would do. So if they paddled out to pipe, I would paddle out to pipe. I was kind of just their little follower. So I think one of my older brothers that wanted to surf pipe one day, and I was actually on the beach, just sitting on the beach all day. And Jason Magdalena's walked down the beach, and he walked up to me. And he's like, "Hey Seth, let's paddle out. Like paddle out with me." So I ended up paddling out with him, and he paddled out with me. I think it was only like a 6 foot day, and he sat on the shoulder with me, and that was kind of my first like impression of pipe. And I think sitting on the side on the shoulder of pipe is a lot scarier than actually being in the peak, because you're watching every wave, you're watching the waves unfold on the reef. So I think ever since that session though, I was pretty hooked. Like I really wanted to get a wave and be that guy in a barrel.
Yeah, wow, that's an incredible insight. And I mean, so like, talk to us about what you've learned about surfing pipe over the years, like, just your approach to surfing it and some of the tricks of the trade that you've developed since you first started out there.
um, I think the biggest thing is probably positioning out there. You can get really out positioned by guys, and especially guys like John and Nate. They're always like something about it, but they just always know where to be. Like they're always super aware of what's going on. So I think that big thing, just reading the ocean, because once the wave comes in, it's pretty much all balls. You just gotta send it and paddle really hard.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Just that it's like a sixth sense being able to anticipate um, various, moving lumps of water, the direction they're coming in, how they're going to hit the reef. And I guess like that's something that can only really be developed by time in the water.
Yeah, yeah, it's just time in the water. I mean, for years when I first started surfing pipe, I would paddle out there and not even catch a wave. And at the time, you're a young kid and you're just kind of mad and you're bummed on yourself that you didn't catch. But those sessions kind of mean a lot, because those are the sessions you're kind of just analyzing the lineup and taking in a bunch of knowledge, and just spending time out there. I think is super important, and that's a lot of kids are doing nowadays. This winter, I think most scrums I've ever seen out there, but it's super cool because they'll paddle out in a pack and they're all wearing helmets. I thought that the parents were, like advising them to wear helmets, and it's just another thing of safety, out there. You're putting yourself and others at risk. So for like groms to paddle out there with helmets, I thought that was super cool.
Yeah, that's really interesting, man. Who were the guys dominating the lineup when you first started surfing at Pipe? Like, who were the big dogs?
I mean, still them are still there, like Makua, Jamie, uh, Ezra Sit, Kalani Chapman. Those guys are all still out there. And I think when I first started surfing, they're like more hard on it, like just really on it. Days, Nate, obviously Eli, Cole Ruffin, those guys are kind of on the come up. They're, I'd say, a generation before me or ahead of me, and it seems like the tides are switching, and those guys are the top dogs now.
Wow, interesting, man. And your early memories of epic waves that you saw ridden by some of those guys that you mentioned at Pipe or anywhere along the North Shore, is there any like waves that stand out in your mind where you were either sitting on the channel or maybe you were watching them send it over the ledge on one where you were just like, fuck, that was fucked up?
But it just cut out right there, but I heard all that. Um, uh, yeah,
Oh, I was just,
but
yeah.
I think that wave that kind of, oh, sorry, it keeps cutting out. There it is. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think my first memory of just seeing a perfect wave and me just being like, wow, like I really want to surf that wave was I was staying at the Billabong house when I think I was like 9 or 10, and I was staying there with my whole family, and Andy Iron just staying there, and Lindy was staying there, and it was the morning of a big fall, and I know Andy paddled out early in the morning, so I woke up early and I went on the balcony and I watched this session, and he didn't catch a wave for like 2 hours. Like I was like I was just like my eyes were just glued to the ocean, and then he finally got a wave, got a perfect wave, and I'm pretty sure I cover a few magazines, just like his bottom turn in the big backdoor pit, and I'm pretty sure it might have been a Free Surf or Surfing magazine cover, but that was kind of like that first wave where I was just like, damn, like I really want to get out there soon. And I remember that day he was telling me, he was like, hey, let's paddle out with me. But I wish I just did it, but I was still pretty scared, and I don't think I could have handled it that day. So that was kind of one of my big regrets.
Oh, don't be too hard on yourself, man. You were 9 years old. But and talk us, fuck that, man. I love that memory, man. That is wild. Getting to see AI up close, just beast mode at backdoor is a remarkable privilege, man. But yeah, man. Talk us through your first proper wave that you had at either pipe, backdoor, or off the wall.
Phew. I think I really started when I started surfing like bigger pipe. I was kind of just like only getting rights. I would somehow just be on the other side and just like shit, I gotta go right. And I think my first like actual proper pipe or backdoor wave was I was 17 or I was 16, I think, and it was just like a really big stretched out closeout wave it looked like, and I was just in the spot and I just went for it, and I scopped that wave, and I think still to this day it's one of my better backdoor waves. I look back at that wave and it was a pretty good ride, and I put it in an old edit. I'm not too sure where it is, but it was actually one of my entries into the King of the Groms when I was still in that. So yeah, I was probably like 16.
Wow, 16. Yeah, right. Far out. And who were the people who really helped you out there? Like gave you advice, coached you, that sort of thing. And what were some of the big lessons that they passed on to you?
Um, Jamie was actually really cool when I was really young. When I first started surfing backdoor, I'll be out every day when it was like 4 foot, 5 foot, and that was kind of like my go-to size. And I think he started noticing that me and my brothers are like trying to put in time out there, and he was always really cool at like just paddling up to me and just giving me some advice. So I think ever since that, I was always so stoked on him. I was like, oh, that's so cool. He's coming up to us and letting us good advice at a young age. So uh, one of the key things though, and he still does it to this day, is he told me, he was like, hey, if you want to wave, like it doesn't matter if you're the shoulder, if you're not the deepest guy, if you kick his hard and yell, like I bet those guys deeper than you are gonna pull back. And still does that to this day, and he does that to everyone. He does that to me, and it still works. So he'll just paddle and not even look back. But that's he deserves it. He put in so much time out there, and I think a lot of the guys out there respect him a lot.
Yeah, man. Jamie's such an interesting character. I've had the privilege to spend quite a bit of time with him over there on the North Shore, and from afar, he can come across, through his media persona and some of the brash things he says as obnoxious or arrogant or whatever. But what people don't realize on the North Shore is how much he gives back to local groms, the local community. He'll like go down to Waimea and dig out that trench for all the local kids. And, he's
Yeah,
very much a well-respected community man, isn't he?
yeah, Jamie's a legend. I think he inspires like guys like me to be just like really cool to groms, and knowing how much psych these little groms have if you just wave to them, or talk to them, say what's up, say, oh, you're ripping, like just talking to the groms is huge, and that'll get them psyched to surf. And Jamie just coming up to me and saying that got me even more out to start surfing pipe and get better out there.
Sick. And we're
So
getting
I
down
think
the
it's there.
Yeah, we're getting down the end, man. The
Yeah.
North Shore obviously had a heavy reputation for decades, from the busting down the door saga right through to the wolf pack and the pipe whistle and all that kind of stuff. Has the culture of localism changed out there since those wild days?
Oh, I think everyone can tell that it's changed out there. It's a lot different. It's a lot more mellow. Um, I think people, even a lot of the older guys, I think people are just kind of that lifestyle. That lifestyle doesn't last forever. So people are realizing just being nice to each other and being respectful is the way to go. There still obviously should be like localism, I think, and like still to this, like nowadays kids can get away with more than they did. So I do believe there should still be that order and a slap here and there. But in all seriousness, people, guys aren't shooting each other. Guys aren't fighting on the beach every day anymore. So I think that's a I think that's a good thing. The community is kind of just kind of just switched upside down. I think the North Shore is a great community now.
And what do you think's driven that change from those kind of heavy old days, black shorts to Hui Wolfpack to now? Why is it so different?
Um, I think part of it is social media. I think guys, younger kids that are growing up in the North Shore, they have a big opportunity to become a pro surfer and have a good rep and get sponsored. So I think that's a big thing. Sponsorship can take a little grom around the world. So kids are really really careful on what they're doing nowadays, and I think that's one big thing. There's cameras on the beach. You don't want to get caught doing something dumb or fighting a guy and going to jail. So I think that's one of the key things probably is all these groms, they're learning how to just have a good rep, a clean rep.
Yeah, yeah. And how do you go balancing friendships, with mainland and foreign pros while making sure to get your waves at pipe? Because, obviously you're friends with these guys, you travel the world with them, but when push comes to shove and there's a set at pipe or backdoor that's potentially worth, those waves are worth money in a sense too. There's photo
Yeah,
incentives, like it's a commodity. How do you go
there's 20
maintaining
grand
friendships?
waves over there.
You got 20 grand waves.
20 grand waves, yeah. No, I mean, it's not like I paddle out there and catch every wave. Like I'm not out there catching tons of waves still. So yeah, I mean, everyone gets it. Like if you're in the spot, you're going. And all the boys, like I'm friends with everyone on tour. Like I'm pretty much friends with everyone on tour. So, but still, like I'll still paddle out there, and I think they all know, like I'm gonna paddle out there and kind of just sit in my spot. But I always wait my turn. I won't paddle around Julian and take the next wave. Like, yeah, I just kind of not made like that.
Yeah, nah,
I
sick, man.
kind of pull that off and like feel good about myself to just like paddle out, talk to one of the boys, and take the next wave. I'll paddle out, talk to them, and then maybe just position myself outside and wait for my.
Oh, that's really interesting, man. That's a really kind of I don't know what the word is, maybe like spiritual way of approaching surfing. If you got to steal a wave off someone to get it, then the experience is going to be layered with guilt. It's not going to feel that
Yeah,
good.
and I swear, when you do that, I've probably done that a few times, and then when I've done that, like something happens. I have a shitty session after that, or maybe break my board in the next wave. So I think just having good karma when you surf out there, I hate to have like any kind of confrontation when I'm surfing the wave, because once you have that, kind of just ruins your session.
Mm, mm. And,
Just
it, and what about injuries and stuff like that, man? How have you gone with that? I mean, I know Jamie's like broken like his leg or maybe both his legs out there. Like even the best guys get fucked up out there. How have you fared in that respect?
I've been pretty lucky, I'd say. I haven't had any like serious injuries, just really, really mellow stuff. I think the closest thing I got to hurt out there was on a 3 foot day when I hit my head and I like nearly blacked out underwater, but it was 3 foot. So you never know when that's gonna happen. You eat shit head over the falls, and you pop up in like 2 seconds. It's kind of just it's a hit or miss. So I've
Whoa.
been really fortunate and haven't experienced anything too crazy.
Sick, man. Well, thank you so much for giving us all your time. And I guess finally, like, what's the plan from here on in for 2021?
Yeah, I'd say just getting ready to see if anything's gonna happen with the tour. Staying home right now and training and getting ready to leave soon. Yeah. Do you guys know that? Maybe I wasn't supposed to say that.
But,
Has the tour been announced to everyone?
yeah, pretty much. No, it's been announced. Like, there's some charter flight leaving LA or whatever, and
Yeah.
we're looking at Newcastle, and can't remember the other event stops.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. I was just making sure I wasn't saying something I wasn't supposed to say.
Yeah, no, it's all pretty well out there. Oh man, can't wait to see you down under.
Yeah. Excited to see you guys soon. See you in a month.
Sick, man. All right,
Be down
thank
under
you,
with you
Seth.
guys.
Fucking legend.